We are live.
Woohoo.
Right. We at K-Swiss realize the Black community has long been marginalized, their voices oppressed and cast aside to the fringes in the wake of yet another series of unnerving tragedies. Those with a platform must use it for the betterment of society. We must listen, educate ourselves, and do our part as allies to help lay the building blocks as the foundation of a future where true equity and freedom are manifested. This is the inspiration behind the Black Voices podcast, a platform where our guests' messages can be amplified and their voices heard. For this series, we'll hear from entrepreneurs, people who've created brands and businesses with the hope to inspire others to reach similar heights and success. For this first episode, I'm really pleased to welcome Donye Taylor and Raymond Smith, co-founders of youth marketing agency, The Digital Footprint.
Yes.
Welcome, guys.
Hello.
All right, and that intro was actually written by Christopher, one of our employees here, one of our team members, and very well said. So thanks for coming in. Appreciate it. Appreciate you. And let's get right into it. And these past couple of weeks have been an intense time. And tell us sort of what you've been doing during this time.
I would say I've just been kind of like digging into things more from like a 360 point of view, like just kind of like reflecting and being like, okay, like whatever I was doing before, I feel like it wasn't enough. I kind of need to switch my mindset. So I know me personally, I learned that you could vote for like DAs and stuff now. And before all of this, I did not know that you could do that. So like I'm more focused on what can I do in my community that will, kind of change the course of things such as like the George Floyd situation. So I'm definitely going to be more active when it comes to voting, not just, every 4 years when it's a presidential election, but being more active and like voting for like the governor, mayors, and things like that. So that's definitely been something that has been on my mind and thinking like, okay, I definitely want to be more active, such as this. So yeah.
Raymond?
I've been trying to stay busy, like doing what I can in the creative industry, but like Donye said, the whole situation sort of it felt like a 360 moment, like damn, like what I mean, it made me realize that we need to be a little bit more vocal sometimes. Like, so me and Donye, we do a lot in our community and for like minorities and stuff like that, but this situation taught us that maybe we should put it a little bit more on Front Street so that maybe that message can trickle down, and then that could possibly one day erase a bias from somebody from even beginning to do a George Floyd situation by like, oh shit, but yeah, like we have interns and all of them are like Black, but we don't say it. We just, we kind of just go with the flow. But like this situation taught us to just own our Blackness. Like, man, we got
own it,
like owning it. Like we just made it. Like when we first started the agency, it was to the point where we didn't even want to say that it was a Black-owned agency because we thought we wasn't gonna get enough work. We just said agency, and we didn't even follow our own page because we're not gonna get enough work because people are gonna see like, oh no, they're too cultural, or they're too Black, and they're not gonna hire us. But
we
then
had to make it mysterious because like, we thought that our Blackness was like a weakness.
Like people are just like, no, they won't get work. And I get how some people will be like, oh, you gotta own it, but we're thinking about how we gonna get some money, how we gonna pay the bills, how we gonna feed our family, and we just thought that was like at a time, and up until like a couple weeks ago, that was like the elephant in the room. Like, oh, okay, the white agency might know a little bit more than y'all, or they have more experience. So we just wanted to like kind of make it like a white label, like untouched brand.
Like we just started like owning the whole like, oh yeah, like we're Black owned. Probably I would say like late last year, but we've had our agency for almost 3 years. Like 3. So that was like a shift too. Like we was like, we're gonna just own our Blackness instead of like just like
I think if your customers is made up as a large part from the Black community, then should be an advantage to have people working on the brand who know that voice, not a disadvantage.
Right.
What's really interesting, and I heard there is, I sort of expecting you to answer that question with what can everybody else be doing. I think whereas you actually just instinctively said, what are you guys doing to improve things? Whereas I feel like it's kind of on us to improve things. You're actually looking at yourselves to improve it versus saying, here's what everybody should be doing.
Did
you even notice that?
That's
I think it's very overwhelming too, to try to, because like when you have these high expectations, it's easy for you to get disappointed. Versus if you just say, this is what I can do, the only person that you can kind of get mad at or upset with is yourself. You know what I'm saying? And in the reality of it, you really don't have control over anybody but yourself. The most that you can do is just make sure that you're the best that you can be, and hope that you doing that is inspiring others. So, and I think that's kind of like our approach, like when it just comes to everything that we do, we just try to be the best that we can be individually, and hoping that it'll trickle down. But I never really realized that.
Yeah, I never realized that
until
until
just
you.
now.
Yeah.
Did you feel that way immediately, or did you go through that hurt, fear, anger, frustration, or were you just instinctively like, how do I do better here?
At first,
or how do I do more to contribute?
At first, I was really upset because of just like the video of how it had been done. I feel like, like we're pretty desensitized from the news and everything, but I think everybody kind of felt the same thing. It was like, okay, like it was kind of like a horror movie, like literally, like, so at first I was very upset about it, and then I was thinking, okay, like this is just going to be what it's always going to be. People are going to protest, there's going to be a hashtag, and then after a week, it's just going to die down. But as I saw that it wasn't dying down, that's when I was like, holy shit, like this is really like everybody kind of feels like how I feel. And that is kind of when it kind of like resonated in myself, like, wow, like this is changing. And I told him before it got to be this big, I was like, this time is different, Raymond. Like I said that. So, but yeah, I'm just glad that
you felt the same way, like, here we go again.
Yeah, I was almost hurt, not like I'm hurt by the situation, of course, but I was more hurt in the fact that I was desensitized because it happened. And I was like, my first reaction when I saw it on social media was like, dang, this is just another situation. You know what I'm saying? It's like, why? That's toxic in itself for me to even address a situation like that. Like, I didn't talk to nobody about it, but that was just like my subconscious reaction, like another one. And then I had to sit back and be like, damn, that's not right. Like, that's not cool. And then I remember just feeling so down about myself. Like, there's nothing I could do because it's just going to happen again. Because it was on camera, but it was something else that was on camera. And there was another one. Like, he wasn't the first person that happened on camera. So it just made me think like it was just a hopeless feeling. But then once we seen a reaction, it was almost like this could be the one, you know what I'm saying? And we try to figure out why this was the one. So we try to think like, is it because of quarantine? Is it because of social media? We always like to go in a second layer. Like, is it because like, I don't know, once people saw like 2% progress, everybody just kind of just unraveled all their feelings that they've been bottling up for years. Like, actually, well, F this too, F that, and F that. You know what? Everybody, you know what I mean? Once they see like progress, it just felt like everybody's catching the heat. Everybody catching the smoke now. Like, so that's causing people to be, oh, it's progress. Well, you know, we might as well keep it going. You know what I mean? And that's just so like every day. This is
when groupthink kind of worked in our favor, because we see groupthink a lot on Instagram, like, and social media with comments. It's kind of like a trend. So I feel like this was like groupthink on like a massive scale. So what started happening was people was like, oh crap, Nike said something? Well, dag. It got to the point where it's like, well, if Nike's saying something, then why am I not saying something? So it was kind of like this fear of being like left out thing. And it kind of literally forced people to think, why am I not saying something if so-and-so is saying something? And so I think that groupthink was a huge part of it and actually worked in.
I mean, I'm obviously Nike's the big company in our industry, and they have their own internal problems, but I will say that they've taken real leadership, first by putting Colin Kaepernick in their campaign a long time ago. That was a brave move at that time, and they have led in this movement too with their voice, so I have to hand that to them. You mentioned about what's different this time, and I agree. It's like I can't figure that out either. Is it that everyone's been quarantined, so there's this pent up frustration already, or is it that we realize that the government even doesn't support or doesn't seem to support Black lives?
I know
at the top.
Oh yeah.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say, I know for me, what stood out was the fact that it happened during a pandemic. It was like, okay, everything is paused except police brutality. Everything is paused except racism. And it was like, that's kind of what it was for me. And I think other people felt that too. Like, everybody's staying inside, everybody's doing this on lockdown, but it's like no matter what goes on, this is still like a constant. And I think that's what made it so massive. It's like, wow, like when everybody's being told to stay inside, be within 6 feet, it's thousands of people protesting. So I think it was like the dichotomy of it all, that so many people are like, oh, stay inside, but you have all these people that's like, no, I'm going to be outside to protest.
Yeah.
So I know for me, like that's what I thought it was. It was just the fact that, wow, like,
because even like Eric Garner was I Can't Breathe. It was the same thing. It wasn't like it was, you know, I remember the NBA players with the I Can't Breathe t-shirts. It was the same expression being said by and it wasn't, and everyone did the hashtag and the week of outrage and then back to normal. This time feels different.
Nothing else is going on too. So like
captive audience maybe.
Yeah. So like with the Eric Garner situation, it's like, okay, you have that, and then basketball is on the next day. All of the stuff is on the next day.
It's hyper focused.
Everything. There's nothing else on but the news. So it's like focus, just making everybody forced to focus in on this one thing, because there's nothing really else to distract it. Because I think that was what the problem. Like it would happen, and then 2 days later, it's like something else would happen because everything else is going on.
And you know how the social media era, everything moves so fast, like, you know, and I think this movement kind of bullied the media into paying attention. Like literally the only thing that you would see on the news was corona, COVID. You cut on TV now, it's updates on riots or laws being passed, or what brands jumped into this, or, you know, everybody's perspective on the situation, when literally days before it was just COVID.
Yeah, you mentioned Me Too movement earlier, about how that kind of was a movement that built, and this, now we've sort of moved into this sort of reckoning of people being called out for previous discrimination in business. So CEOs are resigning, people are getting taken off air, or influencers are being unfollowed because of things. So it's almost like now it's building this movement of accountability. And even that's maybe the last 48 hours that started to build. I don't know if you've been following any of that.
Yeah, I know. I saw the CEO, what is the founder? Somebody really high up at the wing. They stepped down, but I know that for years I would always see things like kind of like hazy here and there in the news about how the wing was ran. It was like, oh, like this is a place for women, but it was always the Black women saying, no, this is a place for white women. It's not a place for us. So it's like all of those things that were kind of swept under the rug over the past like few months or years is kind of like being brought to the forefront. So, but when I saw that, I was like, wow, like she's resigning now. Yeah, literally the time is now.
Now, let me ask you this: as entrepreneurs, created your own business, I mean, was any of that driven by the fact that you weren't getting the looks you deserved that companies?
For sure.
Hell yeah, for sure. Yeah,
like we kept seeing ceilings, and it was like, why do we see ceilings? You know what I mean? And like, I know that's like the average thing, like, oh, I want to do this and do that, but no, we really was knocking our head at the top of the ceiling where we was at. So
in companies,
so that's kind of like when me and Donye first started working together. We worked for a sneaker retail company. It's pretty big in the DMV, and we dealt with like a lot of different accounts, like from pretty much every sneaker like brand in the industry, everything. But they would lean on us for ideas, but then like to a certain extent, then like stop it. So like they would say like, all right, this is the budget, we need an activation, and then we'll say like, okay, let's do this, let's do that, let's go to the moon, and then take a rock and then put it here and then make a carnival out of it. And then they're like, no, let's actually just put a poster up and just go live on social media. We like,
so our ideas are always up here, and they would dial it back down to here. So that over and over, like if you're not strong enough mentally, your brain can shrink to what other people are kind of wanting you to do.
Exactly. So like, and you know, it's like a muscle. It's a muscle. Your creative like brain is like a muscle. If you don't flex it, you won't get bigger. If you won't go to the gym, you'll end up, you know what I'm saying? So that's kind of how it was. And we felt it. Like we used to talk like, man, like how we gonna break out of this shell?
I remember I cried one day because I had this idea, and it was like, it was so huge. Like I thought it was huge, but it was this guy. He was like, literally, I wrote it down on a piece of paper, and I was just so ready to present it. And he was just like, what? And I was just so hurt. Like, cause it's like, wow, like you're making me feel like what I have to say or what I think is not cool. And it's like, I know that I'm cool, but it's like, if that's your only validation, you can think that you're not that cool. So I'm just so glad that we both had the mental capacity to be like, you know what, this isn't the last stop. Because a lot of people that they get there and they're like, well, dag, if this person above me is saying that my ideas are not cool, then maybe they're right because of a title, because that they've worked there longer. And really, none of that stuff really matters. It doesn't matter how long you've been in the industry or how long you haven't been in the industry. If your idea is gold, it's gold. You don't need anybody else to kind of validate that.
Yeah. So you took matters into your own hands.
Yeah.
And this is back in Maryland.
Yes.
So talk about those early days of you creating your business. What was the original plan or vision for it?
So the original plan, it was okay, because we worked on the marketing team together at that company, and that's when really we was like, we work really good together. So what he was really good at, I wasn't really good at, and what I was really good at, he wasn't really good at. So that's like a perfect formula. So, but then the other thing about Maryland is that Maryland is not a place like LA or New York or Miami where it's very creative driven. You don't see a lot of companies doing what we were doing. So we didn't even really know that like agencies existed really. We were just like, okay, like we're really good at this. We have cool people that also are really good at this. So let's just figure out a way to like house it all under something. But really in the first 2 years, we were just learning as we were going because we had no model because we did not see it. It did not exist in our atmosphere. Granted, in LA, that probably would have been a different story because there's agencies all over. But in DC, Maryland, there was no kind of like agency that was doing what we were doing. And even if it was, it was like all white people and doing like the super corporate stuff. It's like that's not cool. Like, but
and it's a blessing and a curse because we didn't have anybody to look up to. Especially I'm from Baltimore. That idea is so left field. Nobody's starting a creative agency. That's like, you're getting a job and you're feeding your family. Like it's no,
you're lucky if
you know what I'm saying? Live. And this was years ago before like the word agency and the word creative was so trendy on social media. So at the time it was like, man, I think we can really make a business off ideas and execution. And you know what I'm saying? So one of the founders of the company was to bring all the people together because and put people on like, yo, we did graphic design over here. Let's bring them in and just put them under the umbrella. So if we have a project, we can do everything else. They might,
or the connections to get from point A to point B, but that doesn't mean that they're not good.
Exactly. Photographer. This guy takes nice pictures. Let's bring him in so we can just make it a full 360 thing. And like I said, we didn't have a model. It's a good thing and a bad thing. Good thing because we did everything the unorthodox way.
How did you get your first client?
Relationships and like bartering. Our first client, and I told you the story over the phone, but like our first client was Chino essentially. And it was kind of like all of us were kind of at the same point. We were like, you know what's next? And Chino trusted us. And
tell the audience who that is.
Oh, so you have a better. He has a really good relationship with Chino.
So Chino, he's a influencer from Baltimore. So he rides dirt bikes. He's in movies. He's into fashion. He was doing music at one point in time, but everybody in the city kind of looked up to him. And he was an ambassador for the company that we worked for. So that's kind of how I met him. And we worked on like different campaigns together, different events and everything. So we already had that kind of work relationship, and we like fly stuff outside of work. So that was like the personal relationship. And once I quit the company, because Donye already left, I quit that company.
I got fired, ironically. That's so crazy. I got fired.
She got fired. It was like,
he's a good partner. He's like, she quit. You're like, nah, truth is.
So
I left. I got fired.
So that was when we made the jump. Like, man, let's do this thing on our own. And Chino was kind of feeling that same way. Like, look, I need to know what's next. I don't just ride bikes. I'm into all this cool stuff. We like, man, let's do something. Like, he wanted to make some clothes, and we was like, let's handle your campaign. Let's, ideate it. Let's bring it to market. Let's do this. And he trusted us.
Yeah, he literally just like, whatever
y'all feel. So we was doing the captions for it. We did like, we organized.
Worked, right?
It worked.
Talk about the results.
Oh yeah, sold out.
Everything sold out. And Chino never had sold merchandise like that before, not connected to anything. It was literally just him. And what made it so special is that a lot of times when people seek help, like when an agency or like somebody like us gets into the picture, we try to project how we feel or like our values onto our client instead of meeting the client halfway. So we really took into account Chino's background, like what he liked, so that everything was super duper organic. We didn't want it to be like, okay, this is Chino selling something that the digital footprint created.
Yeah,
it was
like
Chino
that.
selling what Chino wanted to create, and we just assisted with bringing it to fruition. So that's kind of like how we always approach our business. Like we don't really like to project a lot of stuff onto our client. We kind of like meet them where they're at, and then we take it from there.
The way I always describe that is to say, you know, you're like a doctor, is that you can't write a prescription for the medication until you know what the symptoms are.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? You got to listen to what's the problem before I can tell you what the solution is. And if you're not listening to the problem and just have a one-stop solution every time, it's like a doctor is always giving Advil.
Yes.
You got to listen first.
Yes.
And then how did you end up moving out here? So now you guys are based in LA. So what moved you out this way?
So Cali was always the mission. You know what I mean? Because we felt like we like tapped out in the DMV area.
Too big for Maryland.
Yeah. And it was like a lot of our clients was out here, and it made sense, but we still wasn't there to take the jump. And then Ethica happened. And then CEO reached out to Donye, and we kind of made sense. And then the timing was perfect, and we was like, let's just do it.
That's the underwear brand.
Yep.
Yeah. And so you became creative strategists or like a digital agency for them.
Yeah, so we run their creative strategy. So me and Donye, our official title is head of creative strategy for their company.
So a creative strategy department.
Yeah,
which is super cool.
Yeah, and I think I found you, Donye. I think I saw you on social or somewhere. I got connected to you, and I just remember sort of thinking, "Wow, that's my kind of person." You know, like a hungry go-getter, marketing type. I'm like, that's somebody I should know, you know.
Yeah.
So we got connected, and then and we built up to here, and I'm really glad you're here. What do you think brands at this point should be doing? I mean, obviously this is something we've been working on a lot about sort of having our voice heard about where we stand. And you know, there's been this not a backlash, but a feedback of, hey, don't just make statements, but do something. Like, what's your feeling on the role of brands in contributing to solutions?
So
I think that it kind of starts with brands just kind of starting from square one and be like, what if, you know, everything that we thought that we knew was really not true, and wonder if we just like expanded outside of this box that we created. Because I feel like that's what a lot of people do. Like they feel like they've been doing something for so long that's like, okay, well, if it's not broke, I don't want to fix it. When really it's like, I think this is a turning point for everybody to kind of reflect and be like, what can I do differently, instead of doing everything the same. So I think just starting there, like just simple step one, like, okay, like what can I do differently, and just being open to new ideas and learning new perspectives instead of just playing it safe. You know what I mean? So that's what I think. Like, not something super spectacular, but I just think starting at that step one and just asking, what can I do differently?
Are you looking at brands now and seeing who's doing what and making decisions on who you support based on that?
Yes, it's really hard because I was just talking about Chick-fil-A. Like, I don't know if I can stop eating Chick-fil-A. I really don't know. But I've definitely been more cognizant about who's doing what. And then now that I have my own brand, like me and Raymond, we have our own thing, and how easy it is to just be like, you know what, why don't we do this? It's almost like, well, why are you not doing that? You know what I mean?
What's the red tape?
Yeah. So it's like that is kind of like revealing like the underlying issues and making me like second guess a lot more. But
and you talked about your early career, Raymond, and some of the barriers you kind of had in front of you. I was saying, Donye, you know, when we talked, I said you got two barriers: you're female, you're black, that you're young. You know, these are in when you talk about business establishment, that's hard to, you know, you got three, whereas I've got none. You know, I got a clear path. And then you had an interesting perspective, Raymond, saying that actually the plight of women is almost been more talked about than men. Talk about that.
So not to you know, because I fully support the women empowerment movement. I'm like, I'm actually the only male that works in my own company. So like just to put that out there. So we have like 15 employees. I'm the only male. I just feel like the black male is underrepresented in the industry, like the young black male. Because number one, I feel like the black male is the most feared thing in America right now. And I feel like that's why George Floyd's situation happened, because it's easy to say, oh, I was in fear for my life. And it's like, what? I was just walking down the street.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Came
And I
from
think
fear.
that translates subconsciously to the business world. So like the people that don't have the lit jobs, that was born into wealth, that was like, or have the industry connections, when it's just down to the nitty gritty black guy that's just creative, I feel like it's harder to break into the industry because they don't have that support and that aid. Like women, they all come together. So if they don't like something, they can cancel you. They can be like, McDonald's don't hire black women, so let's not eat there. And then McDonald's gonna make a statement, and the next thing you know, the next day. But for a black man, I feel like we get looped into the historic like oppression that men had over women, like in the 50s, the 60s, 70s, 80s. Like it wasn't the black man that was successful that was doing all that. I mean, of course you had like successful black man, but like the average guy like wasn't the one putting people on and doing all this industry creative stuff. It was just, you know, so like when I try to get a job, I would literally put other. When it say black, Hispanic, white, I'll put other, because I feel like I would get my application seen, because I feel like they see like, oh, black male, I'm done. It don't matter about my resume. It don't matter. You know what I'm saying? But I feel like they see black women, they can say like, dang, if I don't hire her, it could be problems. Because then, you know what I mean? It can get like, like that. So, but
like just being anti like rapper, anti.
Yeah, just like what if I just got ideas? Like I don't want to hoop, I don't want to rap, I don't want to, but I have ideas to make your marketing campaign come to life. But I feel like they would trust a white male or like a woman. But I don't know. I just feel like the world really don't put that much attention on a black male unless he get killed by the cops. Like there is no everyday story about like, oh, let's talk about this black creative here from Baltimore or Houston or like Philadelphia, where we don't know, you know what I'm saying? But if I was walking down the street and got shot, my story be everywhere.
We're listening.
You know what I'm saying? We're talking about it now. Like, oh my God. And
we're not talking about your achievements.
We're not talking about
achievements. Also perpetuating the stereotype that you just discussed. So it's like, if whenever you see a black man on TV, it's because he got shot, or either like a rapper or whatever, kind of closes that space for you to even thrive in. So it's like a cycle. So it's like,
so I feel like they would look at me and say like, well, we'd never seen it before. I know they're not going to say it, but like subconsciously it's like, well, I've never seen somebody with ideas like this. So I don't know. Like, so that's why it goes back to the point where when we started the agency, why we just never put our like ethnicity on it. It was just agency, because we thought we would get more work. You know what I mean? Until we started to feel more confident. It was like, man, we black on, we gonna carry it like this. Like, you know.
Do you have like mentors or people you look up to, or are you saying that you don't have those sort of aspirational people in your career to follow who are black male and business driven?
Yeah. Well, I never had a mentor. I was always just on the internet, to be honest, like looking at what was going on and just, you know, learning and trying to piece together. The closest person I would say that I look up to is probably Emory Jones. Like, so that's like the closest person that I see. Like, I like what he's doing. I like what he stands for, because he always, he was been perpetrating this message, like for black men and black excellence and stuff like that. And he always is dropping free gems for like creatives and just people in the industry, you know. So that's like the closest model. But I didn't meet him until I would say like after I already got my first industry job. So, but before that, it was just nobody. Pretty much just figuring it out.
I didn't really have anybody that I looked up to either. Or like if I did look up to somebody, there was somebody that was not in the industry that I was trying to go into. I didn't even know that having a creative job was like a thing until I was already midway through college. And my major was healthcare management, because I didn't think that I could get a job being creative. So like I looked up to like just women that were just themselves. Like I used to love Tiana Taylor when I was in high school. I just loved how she was just so left field. So but I wasn't trying to be a singer or a dancer. It was just somebody's personality that I looked up to. So like career role models, I never really had like that. And I remember last year I was talking to Raymond like, Dad, like I wish I had a mentor, because I kept scapegoating my success, thinking like, well, Dad, maybe if I had a mentor, then maybe I would do this, because I felt like everybody had a mentor. I remember he was telling me like, man, like, you don't need a mentor. Like, you don't need that. Like, yeah, see, everybody else has one, but it's like, you really don't need one because, you know, like, we can kind of get here on our own and we don't have to take the path that everybody takes. You know what I'm saying?
What about family support?
So I'm a first generation. I'm a first generation entrepreneur. Raymond.
Yeah, I'm a first generation everything. So like, you know, family can support you because they're family. Like, but when it comes to like something left field like this, where you like it's uncharted territory, the advice can only go but so far.
Yeah.
So like, I'm a first generation college student. I'm the first person to graduate college. I'm the first like entrepreneur. So like, the advice can be the general family, like, man,
just
what
keep
goes
going.
around comes around.
Yeah, just
keep
on
going. Do nice things, man. Yeah, go after what you want. But it's not somebody that's like, yo, you know, if you do this and write your taxes like that, you can do, you know what I mean? So we kind of got to just
no support system.
Yeah,
I wonder if that's consistent. I just, to give you the flip side, I remember growing up in England, my stepdad sat with me and helped me write my resume and fill in job applications. And, you know, I can remember the vision of me sitting at the desk in my mum's house and him sitting with me and helping me. And, you know what I mean? Like, to me, that was normal. Now I've had a good career and I've done it myself, I believe, but a lot of support. That you take for granted that you didn't have any of that.
Yeah, I know. Like, my household, so I wasn't the first generation college student, but I was like the first generation, like, creative. Like, my uncle's basically like my father. He retired from the department later doing accounting. And then my aunt, she retired as an assistant principal. So they did not, same way how I didn't know that creative jobs existed, they didn't know either. So when it was time for me to like do something creative, I did not have support from that area because they just didn't know anything about that world.
Yeah.
But if it was just like a regular job application, like, oh, like, I can proofread this or I can proofread your college paper, I can go to them for that. But when it comes to like me getting to where I'm trying to go and my vision, they couldn't really help. And going back to the mental capacity, you have to be really strong mentally to be like, you know what, I'm going to do this on my own. I'm going to go alone. Even if I fail, like, it's okay. I'm not going to have anything or anybody to like fall back on. But yeah, I think that's what makes like our story just so unique and like,
because I think that was a big statement of first generation creative. I feel like a lot of people don't talk about that because that in itself is a telling like situation.
You think that's like not a traditional Black path?
No. Like, and if you have ideas, like, you have so many bumps in the road, by the time you get to the end, you don't even think you have an idea.
And then on top of that, like, you don't even want, like, you don't have a lot of cushion. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
so like,
no
it's
cushion.
like, I don't, like, sometimes Black people feel like I don't even have the time to even take a risk. Like, I can't afford to take a risk. I can't afford to go to school and just be like, you know, let me, I know I used to like painting when I was in elementary, middle school. Let me see where that would go if I take it full time. We don't have time for that because it's like we have bills and we're also taking on the things that like our parents have kind of like passed down to us. Like so what? It's like, so say if
financially, you mean, or just
just stuff in general. So like if my aunt or somebody didn't finish college, like, okay, well, dang, I gotta finish college because she didn't. So it's like all of those things like you're taking as you're making this climb and you're taking into consideration. It's like you don't want to let your family down. So it's like, like, do I take this gamble and try to do this, or do I just go the regular route and just get my degree, get a 9-to-5 job, retire,
make them happy? And then I kind of suffered from mental health, like whatever. But as a creative, like,
because of expectations?
And like, because it's uncharted territory, I feel like every creative does things differently. Like, I feel like it's an unorthodox process. So so it's hard to tell your parents, like, look, I need 5 months to do absolutely nothing. I want to sit in my bed with a notepad and I want to take a walk around the block every day till I get an idea. It's hard to say that, but then on that one time,
how would that go down?
But on that one time that it hit, that can be the one that just take us out of here.
No question,
you know what I'm saying? And then it's up to them. So a lot of families, they'll be like, yo, what are you doing? You know what I'm saying? You know, the starving artist thing, like we heard it before, like I but as a creative, it's hard to like I remember you said it's hard to be what you can't see.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So like when you got people that's like, no, you need to go work for the post office. You need to be a firefighter. You need to do this. And it's like, no, I want to have ideas. It's like, good luck.
That's
Like
another
what you,
thing
I mean, how you gonna make money? What you gonna
right.
do? Like, and I remember back when I graduated college, I graduated in 2013. There was no creative jobs. It was all jobs had marketing on it.
And
then those
marketing was
marketing
like
jobs had to be
mailing
five years of
envelopes.
experience. And then the boss was always a white guy who kind of didn't understand the shift of like, oh, it's Instagram. So that was 2012 and 13. So I even remember going to school, writing my you had to write like a dissertation to graduate, like a big project. And on the sheet, they wanted me to write about TV, radio. And I'm like, yo, I think this Instagram and Tumblr thing might take off. But my teacher, she was like 60. She like, no, you're gonna write about television. And I'm like, I kind of don't want to write this. So I had to submit an appeal to write about the internet. And it sounds crazy now. It sounds like foreign, like what? No, you didn't. It's like, but I have it in a PowerPoint. And it was like, yo, I think Tumblr, I think influencers will get paid more than like Super Bowl commercials. And which they do now at some point. You know what I mean? Like you got what's the name? One of the Jenners got paid for like Firefest a meal for Orange Post. And you know what I'm saying? And so it's just crazy to shift on everything. Yeah. But it's hard to tell your parents, like, look, this is what I think the future is. Mm-hmm. When you got people that specialize and don't even believe in it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so
hey, one thing you said, it's hard to be what you can't see. I mean, I think that's very well said. And you are now the thing that you felt you didn't have versions of you to look up to when you were coming up,
right?
But you knew that you wanted to be what you are now.
Yeah,
if that makes any sense. And you guys actually are helping others kind of see you as and mentor them. And I know you've built an internship program in the past through Digital Footprint, right?
Yeah.
And you got a lot of applications. You got hundreds of applications for that. So talk a little bit about how you're now kind of trying to be that guiding light that you didn't have to other young Black creatives.
Yeah. So like I said, our process is very like unique. We really don't follow the rules. So like even with our internship, like we'll bring people on that just didn't graduate high school, but you're talented. It's like, okay, it's no ceilings. Like just create.
It's like we can kind of see.
We can,
like I can't explain it, but like even when we was looking at the resumes, like it was some people that had super nice resumes, but it was like it's just something there, like with that creativity that I just don't see.
Yeah,
and
you
some
super resumes, like you know that like I'm here from such and such. I specialize, and then you got like you talking about like I don't know, like you're trying to like see through.
Yeah,
we
like
can see through that layer.
I can't explain it, but we just see it, and we're right like every single time.
Yeah.
So
and because I know like even before, like say if we put in a resume or put in for a job, it's so hard to try to pitch your organicness through a piece of paper when you got everybody that may be less talented than you playing that game of like, hey, my resume, I'm hailing from New Jersey, and it's like, yo, can you do the work? Are you cool? Do you get it? Do you understand the culture? Like your resume should say, I understand the culture. I get it. I'm not, you know what I'm saying, the intangible, but it's so hard when somebody's reading it's like, no, it's not in the format. But we're looking at it like, oh, you look cool.
In this industry, you are looking for that. By the way, just as someone who hires, I'm looking for the magic.
Yeah.
That you can't see necessarily on paper.
Yeah.
So like that's kind of like what we set out to do with the internship program. Like give like the me when I was like in high school that may not have had the correct jargon a chance to really go to town with my ideas. So like we look for that when we select our interns.
And what age group are you, and who are you targeting in terms of
so
high schoolers or people already
young, anybody with talent? So like we really try not to put no like cap on anything. And we also try to put people on that wouldn't have like the opportunities normally. So like that's like one of our big things. So like and I'm like sort of like a spokesperson, I feel like, for that, because I'm from Baltimore. I don't really speak like the super business person, but it's on purpose. It's on purpose. Like I went to college and I joined a group called Taste Masters because I wanted to break my Baltimore accent and everything because I thought it would get me more jobs. Then once we started our own business, I'm like, man, F that. Like we do what we want because your ideas are the same. So we'll go in a boardroom and pitch an idea just like this. We'll look like this. We'll be like, look, but it's a lit idea, and then we'll get it. So then to take it back to the internship program, we'll tell them like, yo, there's no rules on anything.
We basically
like, do what
reinforce because like where they're at right now is a very pivotal time. Like I remember when I first got to college, I felt like I had to dial back on my creativity because it wasn't a lot of people that understood it, and it made me feel weird. It made me feel like immature. So like we are basically telling them whatever you feel right now, that's fine. And you can get somewhere with that. You do not have to dial back on anything. You do not have to code switch. Who you are, where you are right now is enough.
It's
And
enough.
we provide them with, you know, like tools that are tangible that they can use to go out and get jobs or get clients once they leave our internship. So it's basically all the stuff that we took so long to learn on our own, we're giving them in like
How many
Yeah.
3
people come
seconds.
through? How many people would come through the program?
Well, right now we have 14, and we have like a system where it's kind of set up like a basketball season. So like we like our years are looked at as like seasons, and we have different teams.
We
So
draft.
yeah, and we have like drafts and stuff. So sometimes people get
Are you the
traded.
coach? You're
Yeah.
We're the
or
coaches.
But
That's actually what it
GM?
says. That's what it says.
That's actually
Yeah.
in like our deck. Like we're the coaches, and we let people know that like
Right.
your title is not your title. It could be like, oh, like small forward for whatever. But
You know.
and we make sure that the work that we're giving them is very useful. It's not stupid work. And then
Yeah.
we always are telling them the why. Like, okay, we're having you do this because when you pitch this to a client, this is what they're looking for. This is going to be the secret sauce in your proposal. This is how you word it, things like that. And we have them working on our accounts. So it's work that they can actually see.
Real work.
Yeah,
Yes,
real work.
it's real work that they can see getting put on social media. So they're building their portfolio, and we know what
It's
a good
fulfilling.
portfolio looks like because we have to use our portfolio to pitch to clients.
Yeah.
So we're giving them a chance to work on all these different accounts, and we make it like almost like super duper real life. So we say, okay, like you may have a client one week, and the next week you may book another client, and they could be in a completely different lane
Yeah.
than your first client. But that's how nimble you have to be. You kind of gotta play double dutch with your brain and hop from one
Yeah.
brand
Yeah.
to the other to be more diverse.
Yeah.
So we tell them all of that when they're doing it.
Yeah.
So we say, okay, we're going to switch you because this is how it's probably going to be in the real world.
Yeah.
So
And we also like we play into like the mental health aspect of it too, because like that's
like
a
when all
big
that
thing.
George
When
Floyd
you're
stuff is going on, we was like, if y'all don't have to be
Yeah.
on social media today, take however much time you need.
yeah,
We
we try
had,
to be
like,
on the
due
ground
dates.
and
We
like
push the due dates
you know what I
back for
mean,
the
and that's a
assignments.
and
Yeah.
mental health is super big for creatives, especially creatives, because that is directly impacting your work, your vibe, your energy, and that's like, you know what I'm saying, your deliverables. So we coach them up on everything, and we make sure that they feel comfortable. And even outside of work, like 5 minutes ago we talked about like just empowering people that never had opportunity. We'll like enforce like, yo, we are the culture. So like I said, like when I was in school, I felt like because I didn't talk a certain way, I wouldn't be let in the room or let back into the room. But now we're like, yo, we are the culture. So your accent, keep it. Do that. Like that's what makes
That's
us
your
special.
power, yeah.
Our outlook on the culture is what gives us that winning perspective. So now we empower them. We empower people that don't have the opportunities. Like, yo, you from Baltimore and you got ideas, but I don't know, you don't have a degree, but and you sound like this. Okay, cool. You still have ideas. Come to the meeting with us. So like we've done that. Like, all right, cool. We got an important meeting at such and such. Come with us.
On people's strengths.
Come
too.
with us. You know
so
what I'm
instead
saying?
of trying to make everybody fit into like this cookie cutter box, we hone in on their strengths. So it's like, okay, if you're really good at project management, we'll have you do a task that's associated with project management. You're really good at, and a lot of them, they don't even know what their skills are or their strengths are. So last week we had a workshop called Find Your Hedgehog, and we basically talked to each individual intern, like, what are you really good at? What do you really like to do? And then we basically matched it with a title. So this one girl was like, oh, like I really just like getting things in order, but I like adding my creative spice. Like, oh, that's like a creative project manager. She was like, oh my God, I didn't know that existed. Or like this one girl was like, oh, like I like writing captions. They're like, oh, that's a copywriter, but they don't even know that things like that exist. So it's
What's
like
the hedgehog got to do with it?
So you can explain it, but this is his
so
thing.
the hedgehog is like I'm not sure if anybody that's listening knows. So that's like kind of like honing on that one thing that like make you money, what you're good at, and what's like your thing,
Your
like
unique.
your unique
Yeah,
thing.
yeah.
Instead of
Taking
because you
attack.
know, like it's easy to say, yo, I'm a writer, I'm a graphic designer, I'm a dancer and a rapper. It's like, what's that thing that's gonna break you in? Okay, I'm a great rapper.
Yeah.
I'm a great lyricist. So I will use writing and then transition it to, Beyonce. I'm a singer. I'm a go in. I'm dancing now. Now I'm in movies. So sometimes with creatives, a lot of creatives feel like, yo, I'm a photographer. I'm a designer. I'm this. What's your one thing? I can build a website in one day. Okay, cool. Now pitch that. Now that you're doing that, you can make it a 360 thing, and then you can
once you already in the door and you have those relationships built, then you can say, okay, well, have you guys ever thought about that? And I know like that was my hedgehog. It was graphic design. I don't really do graphic design like that anymore, but graphic design was that one thing that got me into the doors and got people listening to me. Like once I did the logo, whatever, then it was like, oh, have you ever thought about doing this or adding this strategy to your brand? And over time, I've kind of rebranded myself kind of like this like marketing strategist / consultant because I use graphic design as my hedgehog.
Yeah.
So
earlier you said you used the term code switch. Like talk about that. What is it? Is this like you putting on a different face?
For like, how so code switching is like, okay, when I walk into this room, I'm like, oh, hey, my name is Raymond Smith. And then when you get back around,
doesn't even have to be language. Code switch can be your demeanor, your personality, everything. It could be how you dress, anything that is minimizing who you are to make somebody else feel comfortable or to accept you. That is a form of code switching. And I said this last week on a live, but I think that code switching is also like a form of mental slavery. Like it's just making you constantly feel like you're not
appeasing
enough.
Other people versus doing you. Yeah, I figured that's what it meant, but I wanted to draw that out because I thought that was really important.
You never 100%. Like when you code switch,
you're never your real self. There's this philosophy of bring your whole self to work. It's like come to work, bring all of you to work, not part of you. Like we hired you for you, not a bit of you. The intern program, fascinating. We're actually going to build one of those. Okay, Swiss, one of the commitments, the initiatives we're doing is to create our own mentorship program for young Black talent in LA. Really, the idea is to build a bench of talent that we can use to kind of recruit and bring more people in, and hopefully also work with other companies in the area to just generate more job opportunities. You guys are going to help us with that. So that's something everyone can look forward to is we're like, you would be perfect to help us build that out and work with us on that. So I'm looking forward to, actually, we're going to meet about that after this. What's a couple of things I want to sort of wrap up with. One is what's your advice to other young people at this point who came from where you came from, like to follow your path, or any nuggets of advice of like, how do I become Raymond Smith, or how do I become Donye Taylor? Are there anything that you would pass on as advice to those people of how to take that first step?
When it comes to taking that first step, I would just say like just be fearless. Like you can really just get into your own head, and that could prevent you from getting to where you need to be. But if you're fearless, like, you know what, who cares how I feel, you can get so much done. And also something that I've just been learning just as years have progressed, that a lot of the things that I thought was like my weakness was really my strength. Like how I look, how I talked, how I dressed, how I did everything. I thought that it was a weakness at first, but it's really a strength. So just identifying those and thinking how you can use those to your advantage and your power, that's really like useful and can help you get really far.
Yeah, great advice.
I'm trying to think of something that's like that the average entrepreneur wouldn't say, because I know you said y'all brought like CEOs and just different business people up here, and I don't want to give the cheesy generic, just jump out there and take a chance,
right.
So I really want that real, because then that goes along with the parent advice of like, be nice to people. And it's like, I know
level 2.
Level 2. Good. So I think
level 2,
that's what
we always
go ahead.
So
level 2 is like our thing. Like I would say, oh no, this is level 2, because level 1 is just surface
like
layer.
It's reachable. That means somebody, it's like it's already being
done. So like level 1 is putting up a black square. Level 2 is building out a program that's going to last for a year or years to come. So like your mentorship program, that's level 2.
That's level 2.
Black square.
You're telling me that level 2.
Level 2.
Yeah. So it's like,
that makes me feel good.
Yes. So stuff like that, like,
even though you guys are the ones who are going to build it out for us with us.
But the idea, you was like, you know what? I don't just want to do the black square. I want to do something else.
Yeah.
That thinking is level 2.
Thank you. Good advice. And then
Yes.
lastly, is like, what would you want other people like me, i.e., white business person, to get out of this last couple of weeks? Like, what do you, and maybe you don't have expectations, but is there anything you want people to know, or what do you hope that changes from the sort of quote unquote establishment?
And you mean like in general, right? Like
In
not
general.
okay. So in general, I hope that companies try to do surgery instead of putting a band-aid on situations, because then when you do a band-aid, you don't know, man. The problem's still there. But surgery is like you starting from scratch again. You rebuilding that muscle, rebuilding that bone. You doing that. Yeah, you saying, okay, this is it. This is what it is. You healing. You know what I'm saying? During that time, you're reflecting. So I think it starts from like staffing down to like, because a lot of people be like, well, you don't want to pay $100,000 in PR and do an iPhone note apology when you could just hire that black creative that would have been like, yo, I don't think y'all should do that. I don't think y'all should put blackface on your sweater. I think that's a bad idea. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Versus like, or just trusting ideas. I think they should start with staffing, think of long-term campaigns, try to be organic. And, you know, because the consumer is smarter nowadays than anything because we're on the internet. So like, you can't just say something. And then a lot of companies are saying it. They're like black tile and they're like, yo, you put a black tile, but 3 months ago you said this.
Yeah,
so
why
the consumer can see the consumer's at level 2. So it's like
level 2. So the brand really needs to be at level 3.
So you're never chasing. If you're not at level 2 or 3, you're gonna forever be chasing, and then your brand is gonna be on your knees forever trying to appease instead of jumping in front of the game and like working with everybody around you instead of just playing catch up all day. Like, oh man, we got signed up for putting up the black square, but then we put it up and it's like, no, bro. But 3 months ago you fired the employee for suggesting the black square. You thought we forgot? Your tweet's still there. So then it's like, so
there's a lot of people shaking in their boots these days.
Yeah, it is.
For the track record.
But you know what's crazy?
For real.
The stuff that is so popular now, we have been asking and like begging for years.
Course,
So it's like
now you guys get it. Us, versus like this has been my whole life.
Exactly.
No,
and that's why it's like a tough crowd. So I know some brands like, damn, I can't do nothing. I did this. I hired a black guy, and it's like, yo, it was more than just hiring Jamal yesterday when you just got slandered. Like, because Jamal Ben had his ideas. You know what I'm saying? He Ben was pitching concepts, marketing campaigns that could have took y'all out the door. But then instead you thought that this, you didn't want to take the chance now. But now it's almost like, so that's why now the social climate is like unapologetic. It's almost like, okay, now do this, now do that. Okay, Black Square, come up with a campaign for the rest of the year. Okay, hire these people. Okay, now we want to see this forever. And the moment you stop, we want
1+1=2.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
That's another thing. Like to us,
it's so second nature. Like,
yeah. So you heard it from the source here. That's great advice, and I totally agree with you. That is the feeling, and that's what I feel like I need to do. So I think it's great that people hear that from you. Listen, I really appreciate you guys coming in. I know we've got business to do with you guys outside of this, but this was a great opportunity, I think, for people to hear from you, how you're feeling, what's going on, how you made it to where you've got to, which is fascinating. Love talking to you, and we're gonna build some things together. So to follow you, it's at Donye Taylor. Where's the best place to see you? Instagram?
I'm feeling Twitter a little more these days, So, but it's Donye Taylor on there, and I just tweeted this. I think Instagram is more about how you look, and Twitter is more about how you think. And I feel like my brain is prettier than how I look. Even though I'm pretty too, but I like my brain more than I like my face. So follow me on Twitter.
Ray and Night on everything. Twitter, Instagram, Ray and Night, like day and night, RAYANDNITE. And in real life, catch me in real life. We can
URL to IRL.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? We talk to people in real life. We're out there. We in the trenches. We out here in the creative world. We just everywhere. So please pull up on us.
That's great. And that's at the Digital Footprint. Guys, really appreciate you coming in. Thank you. Looking forward to build with you.
It's been a pleasure.
And that's from Casus Radio. Thanks for tuning in. For the people on live, that's a wrap.
Yes.
Thank you.
Gang.
Got it.
That was so good.
Yeah, thank you.
That was really good.
Conversation.